Hello and welcome to the Irn-Cru podcast, an NFL podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. This is the Divisional Preview 2023 for the NFC North, and I'm your host, Keith McGinty. We will be looking at, in this series, at all the divisions throughout the NFL, previewing the teams, how they have done in the off-season, where we think they're going to improve upon in the following season, and who do we think they're going to be their star players? Who's really going to crush it for them? I am delighted to be joined by a fantastic panel again this evening. And first up, I've got Brian. Brian, welcome back.
I've barely been away, Keith. It's been a pleasure.
This is the magic of radio, isn't it? Liam's also joining us. Liam.
Evening.
And we'll be talking about your beloved Packers later on. Stu, all the way in Canada himself there. How are we?
It's been a while since I last saw you. That's not doing good. Ready to talk about the Lions.
The Lions, fantastic. Yes, we'll get to that just now. And in the frozen north of Hamilton, we're going to Craig. Craig,
to the Kings of the North.
You did well. That was a full 1 minute 26 seconds before you get that in there.
It doesn't happen often, does it, Craig?
Let's see how many times I can drop that in the next 50 minutes.
Well, we're not going to start with the Kings in the North. We're going to go to the Great Pretenders to start us off with. And Brian, I'm coming to you for the Chicago Bears, Chi-Town, to find out how they've been doing in the off-season. Any changes or acquisitions of note for the Chicago Bears?
Keith, they only traded the first overall pick in the draft. So there was the minor story surrounding that. Yeah, no, the Bears have been busy. It's bizarre. The Bears are a bit of a feel-good team at the minute, despite the fact that they were not the best last season, if I'm generous about it. They didn't rise to the heady heights that some feel was possible. But no, there's genuinely a really big buzz around the team. There were a lot of acquisitions. Players, there's been a lot of movement. So even just kicking us off with free agents, we'll talk about rookies and all that in a wee minute. Couple of the biggest ones. So offense, DJ Moore. It doesn't get much bigger. It's been one of, when Moore moved across for Carolina, it was one of the big moves. It's what a lot of the Bear fans have been crying out for, is to get Justin. You keep telling us Justin Fields isn't a passer. Give us somebody that can catch a pass.
Hold on a minute here, Brian.
What?
Case Claypool.
I do not feel the need to change my narrative. I do not feel the need to adjust even slightly. There was, even if we put Claypool out of it, before the Bears acquired Claypool, their wide receiver room, the cupboard was bare. So they've got DJ Moore in now. See, yes, this is what he's coming this pod for. They've got DJ Moore in now. He is an archetypal wide receiver one. He is there's no excuses in that regard anymore. They lost Monty, so that was a big loss at running back. They've done a bit of work in the draft, but they also brought Donta Foreman across, who had a bit of a surprisingly good year last year. I think that's fair to say. I think MD's expected Donta Foreman to do as well as he did, but he did, and he's moved across. Then we had the great crossing of the divide from Tonyan, who was one of 55,000 people who abandoned Green Bay.
New York.
I'll be honest, I'm delighted that we were able to get one of Green Bay's starters on the pod tonight, because, Liam, I'm just assuming that you've been called up. So they brought Tonyan in as well, which is also a big one. One of the other, the big, in terms of probably I don't know, you could argue with it if this was the Bears' biggest acquisition of the offseason or not. Tremaine Edmonds, coming across for the Bills, he's been made one of the highest paid players at his position, I think. And I've said that now and I'm questioning my research. They paid money for the man. So huge ad. The Bears' defense last year was hideous. They were, if my memory is correct, 31 of 32. So any additions are positives. So they bought him in. They paid for him, they cost them. But they brought in TJ Edwards as well, who again, very talented player. Didn't come with a price tag, which the spendthrift in me likes. So yeah, lots and lots of player acquisitions. They brought in. Sorry, I'm lying. Bad man. It wasn't Tremaine Edmonds. It was made one of the best paid at his position. It was Nate Davis, who they brought in at right guard. And again, it's going to follow in a wee bit of theme for the Bears. A lot of the chat is Fields was criticised. He's a great runner. Mm-hmm. He's Colin Cowherd had the great line out about him in Twitter or what have you last week. He's a YouTube quarterback. He looks great in the highlight reel, but can he really do it? And at the minute, his passing efficiency is a big question mark. But as every good Bears fan will tell you, or kick back with the same two things, well, I'm sorry, he had named a good to pass day, and he spent most of the time running for his bloody life because the O-line was that grim. So, and to be fair, they are fair comments to make. So they've tried to address it this off-season. So, that was their free agent stuff. Coaching stuff, stable. Which actually, I mean it as a huge compliment. Lots of stuff in the background, like assistant coaches and things like that have shuffled around a little bit. But, big ticket, coordinators, etc., etc., etc. Very, very stable. So, yeah.
So, looking at the roster then, it is a big season for Fields. Whether it showed last year that his running was ridiculous. And as you said, YouTube highlight reels, that's some of the stuff that you want to see. And it's easy to see why some of the Chicago Bears fans are allowing themselves to get a wee bit excited for the forthcoming season. It certainly can be something to look forward to. They added to their run back room Travis Homer from the Seahawks has joined them. I'm trying to think of other signings that you mentioned there. So Robert Tonyan coming in and tight end. They've also re-signed Cole Kmet.
He got paid.
There, he get paid. So that'll be a wee bit of continuity there for the Bears. I'm not sure if it's a good thing that Cole Kmet is getting kept on, but it'll be interesting to see. But it is the wide receivers then that you're hoping that are going to step up this season. DJ Moore, a top target for them. Darnell Mooney is going to be there again. Chase Claypool, we all want them to do well. We're all fans to it. I know you and I certainly are.
Want them to do well.
Brian doesn't.
Never interesting to Chase Claypool doing well.
It could be one of these ones with the opportunity. Sorry, Keith. He just could be one of these wide receivers that, given the opportunity that now the Moors come in, he's going to get that attention. That's where these kind of guys could start to thrive. That little bit extra space that they might get given.
Yeah.
The lesser of the St. Brown brothers, Equanimous, of course, he's there as well. Hoping for a big season out of him. We'll get to his brother when Stu joins us in a couple of moments about the Lions. But how did we talked about the draft. They were absolutely loving the draft this year after the Houston Texans helped them out with their pick in the last game of the season. Fantastic. How's that Lovie Smith statue? Is that up in Soldier Field yet?
I assume it's brass and it's 60 foot tall, that statue.
Did they give him a job?
Colossus of Rhodes type thing, yeah.
Right, did they give Lovie Smith a job? I can't remember if I just fever dreamt that, or Grant maybe said that they should, and I've taken it on board. And
I don't think they gave him a job. I think they just agreed to pay him every year for the rest of his life for services rendered. The Bears did a good job. Obviously, the big story with the Bears in the draft was trading the 101. They got the 101 and then they traded out of it. Which, to be fair, I don't actually think anybody was that surprised at that they traded that away in the end. But they did well. And again, shock horror. The first pick that the Bears made in the draft in the first round was an offensive lineman. So they got Darnell right in, and it's can you help keep Fields upright? Can you give him the time that he's going to need to try and make passes to add that little bit to his game?
Yes.
then again, you go through the other rounds. You know, they then went really for the other two. They had 2 picks in the second, a pick in the third, 2 defensive tackles and a cornerback. All about trying to elevate that defense, try and give a little bit of success to it. Then the one that, and I need to give the nod to our good friend Grant, as I was picking his brain as a resident Bear fan. And he's been singing the praises of Roshan Johnson. They picked up in the 4th round, running back, and it's the kind of, if it wasn't for Bijan, it was Bijan's backup. And all the chat is that if he wasn't a backup to what looks like a generational running back, we would all be talking about him. So he kind of feels like the Bears have maybe pulled a wee fly one, a wee sneaky one, and they've got a real gem. And as we said, that running back room is in an absolute state of flux. There isn't a clear running back one in there anymore. Could well be a committee kind of system. Could well be that Fields is running back one.
Hey Brian, Khalil Herbert is coming back from injury, and again, obviously injury questions aside, up until he went down injured, his yards after contact,
his efficiency metrics were massive.
His efficiency was massive as well. He was doing stuff, even though that O-line was essentially me, you. In fact, this group you've seen the screen right here, there's O-line. I think that doesn't so, so Khalil Herbert, I think he could do well, and like you said, Roshan Johnson. I think he's a guy I had I'm now giving away my dynasty draft things here. But he's been in the ADP for a while anyways, but he was a guy I had my eye on before he blasted up the chart a bit.
Yeah, but
what about the schedule for the Bears? Any standout games? I see first game of the regular season is going to be a tight one there, Liam.
We'll come with that later.
I'm going to be a cop-out merchant with the Bears schedule. I'm not going to say it's a game that's the thing that's going to be problematic or tricky or challenging for them. I'm going to say it's the lack of one. Their bye's not till week 13.
Ooh, okay.
That's they just need to be alive. They just not all be dead.
That's where having that deep pool of running backs might come in handy because that's a pretty punishing week by week schedule to. You're gonna have to rely on depth there a lot.
Who's their backup as well?
To be fair, so much as you boys are the same boat. You're weak too. But it's so that was my big actual takeaway from that with the Bears. It's just that's late. I'm not going to talk about the Browns, but I was whinging earlier about how ours is so early at week 5, which is a different set of challenges. But week 13's that's 12 weeks of football. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of wear. That's a lot of injuries.
It'll be interesting to see how
it's going to be the big challenge.
It'll be interesting to see how Fields does this season. Whether he will be trying to run as much, or will he be trying to pace himself, literally, to last the full season without getting the injuries for the wear and tear and the knockdowns. Come through the season. Brian, I'm going to come to you. Just keep things flowing and moving. Who is going to absolutely crush it for the Bears this season?
See, I'm going to be dead bold. It's 2 players that I've mentioned. Both sides of the ball. Offense, I mentioned this before we came live.
Brian, I'm only going to take one from you.
None
of us double standards.
Okay.
Who's going to crush it? Who's going to stand out?
I'll go for the slightly less obvious then of the 2. I'm going to go to Tremaine Edmonds. I'm going to avoid the obvious offensive player. You were 31 out of 32 teams on defense. You need to step that up. It's the old adage: offense wins games, defense wins championships. I ain't saying the Bears are going to win any rings this year, but if they want to get even close to having a dignified season, they need that defense to step up. And he's the man they're pinning the hopes on.
Who do you think? What we're talking about ratings then, 31 out of 32 for Matt Eberflus. Then at the end of the season, when he looks back, what rating? How much of a leap could this season be? Because we know with the NFL, it's a gradual thing. Teams build over a course of 2, 3, 4 seasons before they try and reach their peak. 31 out of 32 are absolutely unacceptable. How high do you think they should be aiming for this season?
Top 20. If they can turn into a top 20 unit, I think going much, and I mean the top end of that, 19, 20. They can take the step to there. I don't think anybody in Chicago can be unhappy about that, given how porous their defense was last year. And then they just need to hope the offense makes that wee step as well. And then, yeah, they're in a good spot.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for that, mate. We now move on to Stu, who has been looking at the Detroit Lions for us. Stu, any significant changes to the team in the off-season?
Yeah, I mean, they did quite a lot because they obviously had one of their running backs. That's where they've had a lot of turnover because we've seen Swift, who was a high pick for them a few years ago. Mm-hmm. He's been moved out, traded off like away he went, and then they drafted. Some would say maybe it's an ill-advised, very high pick on a running back, but they took Jahmyr Gibbs at 12 overall in the draft. And then after that, they also brought in from the Bears, as we were just discussing there, Brian, David Montgomery. So they've had him come in, and he replaces Jamal Williams, who left to go to the Saints. So you've kind of got that turnover of last year. I actually thought the Lions had a very good run game, kind of on the go with Swift and Williams. I thought it was obviously Swift had a few injuries and things, but Williams was absolutely outstanding. How many touchdowns did he get last year? 8 or something like that, or 9?
Something like
that. I think it was or 8 in a row or something like that. I know he was getting close to breaking the record for Lions for most rushing touchdowns in a year, and that's when you consider the guys that they've had playing at running back in their history, despite not being maybe the most successful team. They've had some kind of legends in there. Apart from that, they've had kind of other changes. They brought in Gardner Johnson from the Eagles at safety. They re-signed CJ Moore, which I think is going to be as another safety. So I think they're kind of shoring that up. They signed from the Texans Maben. It was a cheaper deal, but I think he could be a sneaky pickup at linebacker. And then a couple of moves from the Steelers. Cam Sutton, who obviously we've seen quite a lot of, Brian, in our division. They signed him 3 years, what was it, about 11 million a pop, 10, 11 million a pop. Because that's the one thing for the Lions. They came very, very close to making the playoffs last year and just missed out in the last couple of weeks of the season. And the reason was more, I would say, was the defense rather than the offense. So they've done a good job of shoring that up. And despite losing Jamal Williams from the running back room, I actually think they're going into this season with a better rushing situation what they had last season. So yeah, lots of change. Coaching wise, they actually didn't do anything there. Like they didn't really need it. It's one of those things where when you're starting to see success, you don't really need to change all that much, kind of thing. So they, like the Bengals, the Bengals had no change at all. For the Lions, all they had was they have Dan Bly came in as the cornerback coach, and he of course is a former Detroit Lion cornerback himself. So for the most part, it's status quo there. So I think that's good to see because they performed pretty well last season. And I think even with me saying the defense wasn't great, they definitely took steps from the year before.
Yeah, I think the big thing from the Lions, and everybody kind of had a wee soft spot for them, especially when you were watching Dan Campbell in Hard Knocks, and it's just infectious, his love for the game and how he gets people on side by demonstrating just how committed he is to the team and the way that he wants his teams to play and how he wants to bite kneecaps off to get a win. Daffy stuff like that. It's very Brendan Rodgers, but it was interesting. But he had stuff to back it up. He got that through his offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, and I think everybody was just impressed with how well they played offensively. The way that the team really took it to the other teams, as you said, defensively that they really do have a lot to work on, and hopefully that's what they have targeted this off season. But some of the players that they had in the offensive line, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm a big fan of. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do this forthcoming season. Maybe they want to make things a wee bit hard for themselves. They've got Marvin Jones Jr. Joined the team.
He's clearly depth.
Absolutely.
I love Jones. Like he's an ex-Bengal as well, but the guy's been around, and you know what? See if he's your depth guy, and he's your WR4 or whatever, and you're just throwing him on for like those kind of third and long or like Hail Mary attempts. I can't think of a more perfect guy that can just go in there, because he also knows the blocking side of things too. So it's like he's somebody you can send out there and he can help out, and he's going to help those younger guys take that next step too. Not totally on the Hard Knocks thing though. I know the Detroit Lions probably wouldn't have wanted to go on it again, but I would have watched the second season of them, see if they were to follow up. Be like, you know what, guys, we're bringing you back on board. Like, here's Detroit again. I'd be happy, kind of thing. So we could just show that progression, like the highlights of last year, and then here we go into training camp. Because everything I've seen, because I've been doing a bit of research into them before I come on the show here. It's you're seeing guys like Peneyes, like came in, like him and Hutchison, who were both pretty good, kind of thing. Last year, Hutchison was pretty solid, kind of thing. They've both come into camp looking even better than they were. Like they now have a better idea of what they need to do to succeed in the NFL, and they've both clearly been working in the off season, and they've come in really good shape. With like Hutchison's, I think he clocked in at the same weight, but he just looks. He's kind of leaner but more muscular, if that makes sense. So him at defensive end, I could see him kind of posing problems for people this year. And Siwo just looks more solid. He's got a solid base to him. Because when they've been doing drills so far, it's like he's looking good, kind of thing. So I think that O-line is going to take a step. And that is going to have knock-on effects in terms of helping Jared Goff out as well. Because he was good last year. And again, that goes back to that rushing thing. Because every single year that Jared Goff has a good Goff year, it's always when he's on a team with good rushing. So they had that last year, and if anything, they've improved the room for this year, like I was saying. So I could see Goff. He's going to, I'm not going to say he's going to be like top 5 quarterback.
MVP.
Like
he's not going to turn into Patrick Mahomes overnight.
Yeah. If Goff's top 12 this year, Detroit, sky's the limit.
Speaking of Mahomes, the Lions kick off the season for us, travelling to Arrowhead on September the 8th for us? September the 7th in the States for the Thursday night game.
They're big time now.
Yeah, big time. That's it. They are something that they're a team that you'd love to watch. They're just so exciting.
Like Amon Ra, I've not even mentioned him yet. Like you've not. I know we kind of alluded to him with Equininius, like from earlier on, but Amon Ra St. Brown is one of my favourite wide receivers that isn't at Cincinnati. So it's going to be good watching him going up against the Chiefs' defence and seeing what he can do.
Absolutely. Any other games stand out for you for the forthcoming season for them?
Oh, probably. You know what? It's the triple game. The triple thing that they have happening at the end of the season. So the last 3, they're at the Vikings, then at the Cowboys, then at home to the Vikings again. So that's a heck of an end of the season that's kind of coming up there. So imagine having to go up against Cousins twice in the last 3 weeks. And maybe that's
any of them prime time.
They haven't announced whether because I see their TBD in terms of timing in that when I looked at the schedule. So
one of them is a Saturday night game.
Yeah,
the Cowboys game Saturday night, December 30th at 8:15.
So Cousins though. It's the 2 Minnesota ones. Are those going to be? I think the last game of the season when I looked at the schedule earlier, it just said TBD on time. So I'm like, they're already thinking about rotating that one to a prime time slot depending on how the division's going. So
definitely can see that, and they'd be worth it. They're certainly worth watching. Hope they can continue that this season as well. I'm looking forward to see how they do. Starting off with the Chiefs, and then they've got the Seahawks the weekend after that. I'd be looking forward to that. Thanks very much, Stu. Before we go, I'm looking for your breakout player who's going to absolutely crush it for the Detroit Lions this forthcoming season.
I'm not going to go with an obvious one. One place they struggled a little bit last year was linebacker, and again, one of their, I guess you would say, reaches in the draft, and I don't dislike the player, was at number 18. They took Jack Campbell. I'm going to say Jack Campbell's going to come in and do an absolute job at linebacker. So I think he's a guy that could be a star for them.
6'5", 243 pounds, 22-year-old from Iowa. Aye, looking forward to that. It'll be interesting to see how he does. There we go. We'll knock that down, Stu. Thanks very much for that, mate. Next up, then, we have Liam with your own Green Bay Packers. Liam, how have the Packers done in the off season?
Well, it's been quiet. Nothing happening really, you know. So, well, yeah, which is that obvious, isn't it? 30 years with 2 MVP quarterbacks? No more.
Yep.
Well, no, could continue. To be continued. We shall see.
It's been a really weird, long, drawn out off season for you guys. Are you excited for the changes that it's brought? I suppose this is like the wildfires that are going on in the north of America just now. Once that's all cleared, it renews the earth. The nutrients are allowed to come forward. There's going to be wee shoots of life there. You've got
Shoots of love.
Shoots of love. Nice.
No, well, yeah, like I think I've alluded to this in the other pods previously. Like it's weird to go into a season not, I suppose, realistically. We should be a shock if we got to the Super Bowl, wouldn't it? Compared to what we've been every other season, but I'm looking forward to seeing what Love's going to do. It's just it's that the unknown. I think, and no one knows. You know, really. Well, hopefully the coaches know, but really no one knows. How he's going to what's he going to do?
Liam, what's Love got to do with it?
I know, well, there's a fancy name right there. So
that's your team name. So
that one,
absolutely.
For you.
But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing what it's. In some ways, it's a good position to be in. We're not paying loads of money for him. Okay, we restructured a kind of team-friendly deal because he was going to get we had to make a decision on his 5th-year option sort of thing. So that we've kind of hedged our bets a bit with that, you know. So we're not totally tied in, I suppose, which is smart business, I suppose. And if it all goes really wrong, then we're going to have probably 2 first-round draft picks, thanks to Rodgers, I think. One hopefully high if it has to be. So, but no, I'm positive. I think it's going to be a different style of offense. You know, I think with LaFleur, he's come from the Shanahan sort of tree and things like that, and there was always a report of Rodgers going up to the line and just changing the play every time, you know, not doing what was called sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see now. Love will be kind of doing everything he's told, I'm sure, to see what kind of offensive scheme we kind of fully run. I think there's going to be a lot more, I suppose, logically, probably a lot more runs involved. We've still got a good core there with Jones and Dillon, and I think actually Love will be interesting to see Love. He's not going to be, I suppose, Fields running everywhere, but I think there'll be some interesting movement up, you know, some scrambles if nothing more.
Who calls the plays in Green Bay? Is it LaFleur or is it Stanovich?
No, it's not. It's normally LaFleur as far as I know. So yeah, so he's normally calling the plays. So yeah, it'll be I think it'll be it's exciting times. Hopefully it'll be exciting 2 weeks in. Hopefully.
What about Love? His targets for the forthcoming season last year was a bit of a breakout for Christian Watson. I think Romeo Doubs as well. They're big things for him. From your draft picks, is it Luke Musgrave that you guys managed to pick up as well?
Yeah, well, we've kind of like that. We've kind of obviously we've lost all our players to the Jets. Because Lazard and Cobb's gone there, and then obviously Tonyan went to tight end, went over to the Bears. Yeah, so we picked up Musgrave and Kraft, 2 tight ends. So kind of rebuilt that. Interesting. Also, I think it's going to be a big loss. We've lost Mercedes Lewis, who's I don't know what age he is now, but he was a good blocker, a good locker room guy sort of thing. So it's I think no one's saying. I think the GM said it's not a rebuild. It's just a kind of I don't know a reboot. I don't know what the phrase they're saying, but they've got. We'll see how it goes, and they've brought in Jalen Reed as well. He looks, from all reports, kind of good slot receiver, another option, another target for Love, and like that in later rounds. I think in total we had like 13 draft picks. I think so in later rounds we also brought in Devon Wicks, I think his name is.
Yeah,
and we kind of every off other week we're kind of trialing another wide receiver out. He's kind of picking off the waiver wire sort of thing. So it'll be an interesting new young core. It's all young players. I can't remember the age of our team now. There's no, rightly or wrongly, there's no kind of veteran presence there in the wide receiver room. So we'll see.
That's a good thing then. LaFleur's got something that he can mould. He can put into his own image rather than kind of having to defer to Rodgers and his longevity at the club. Do you think it'll be? You think they're going to focus mainly on the running backs? You've got Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon there. Are you going to let Love cook up a storm?
I like to think it was going to be quite balanced. To be honest with you, I think having that core the running back core is already there. Like Jones is being great for us, and Dillon. If Jones goes down, Dillon can probably take it all on his own sort of thing. So I think it's going to be. I like to think it's going to be balanced, but I suppose we shall see how Love performs. It's all that unknown. It's all these. We just don't know. I suppose. I was kind of look back at Rodgers' kind of first season with us, and first starter when he was being the starter, had 28 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, I think it was. So I'd take that. If Love did that, I'll take that all day long. So we shall see.
I realise a rebuild season for you guys, or a reboot season, as you mentioned earlier on. Indeed. Certainly will be interesting to see. Who's going to crush it though for the Packers? Who's the one that's going to actually take this mantle onto their own shoulders and drag you guys through?
I'm going to turn to the other side of the ball a wee bit because we need our defence to step up. I think that was what let us down last season. We needed our defence to let the young wide receivers like Christian Watson have the time to bed in. So I'm hoping for a big step up from our last year's first round picks and Devontae Wyatt, who's our defensive line. Our run defense has been horrendous since we have got Joe Barry and defensive coordinator. It's just as Craig will probably loved. He's loved seeing Cook run by our defense many a game. So so hopefully Wyatt can take a step up. We didn't get many kind of playing time snaps last year. But he's what 300 odd pounds. If he can just fill some holes in there, that'd be ideal. So I'm hoping for a big step up for him.
Yeah, you've got plenty of good players in the back there. You've got, of course, there's also Kay Walker, Lucas Van Ness. I think that was one of your drafts as well. Be interesting to see how these guys perform in the forthcoming season.
No, yeah, definitely. Sorry.
Smashing. Brilliant.
All right.
Thanks very much. We'll come back to you later on for your predictions for the forthcoming season. I'm going to go to Craig now. As you mentioned earlier off screen, he should be sitting here with his wee Burger King of the North Hat. But we'll keep that for our next season, maybe, Craig?
Maybe for the season opener, just as a reminder to everyone.
They're certainly won the hearts and minds of the viewing public when it comes to quarterback on Netflix this summer. Kirk Cousins has done a remarkable job of everybody just really rooting for him. Him and Kevin O'Connell, a great dynamic that they've got there, and you really do hope that it's going to be an exciting and successful season, building on what happened last year. Has there been much changes for the Vikings?
Yeah, there has been. I mean, I guess most notably in terms of players that have departed. I was pretty sorry to see Adam Thielen leave. A Minnesota native, has been a huge wide receiver for a number of seasons. So was sad to see him leave, certainly. But we naturally kind of picked a successor almost immediately with our first round draft pick in Jordan Addison. So. It's a bit of a kind of like for like there. We lost Dalvin Cook, which is a huge loss. But then he's been with us for 6 seasons. He is a brilliant running back, 4-time Pro Bowler, but can be injury prone. And like we've talked in many a pods, running backs and their value. I'm pleased to see the opportunity being given, the door opening to Alexander Mattison to step in. I'm really, really excited to see what he's going to do this year, given the opportunity to be the RB1, certainly. Other kind of notable players we've lost. Eric Kendricks we lost. We lost Cam Dansler at cornerback, but you get toasted quite a lot last year, so maybe not overly disappointed at losing him. But again,
Darius Smith going to the Browns.
Yes, Brian did mention it. There's been I think the players that we've lost in some of these kind of key positions, the draft picks that we've picked up have kind of naturally filled in those voids. Looking down the list of other players that we've picked up another quarterback, Jaren Hall. So presumably he's now kind of jostle with Nick Mullins for the QB2 position behind Kirk Cousins. There's no doubt Jordan Addison's got talent. As a first round pick, we know he's fast, especially in a dog emergency. We know he's rapid. He's capable of 140 miles an hour. Him and JJ, that's going to be the kind of main focal point. But don't sleep on KJ Osborne either. I'm really excited to see the three of them. I think having those three options there, they're young, they're fast. I think that's maybe where Thielen was starting to maybe not fit into what Kevin O'Connell and Wes Phillips, our offensive coordinator, are wanting to do with passing options for Kirk Cousins. So having these three kind of really dynamic wide receivers, I'm really excited to see that. And I say now throwing in Mattison at running back, I think is going to be a really good mix. Pleased to see Harrison Smith coming back for another year. Yes, my jersey's still all right for another year.
Jersey's still relevant.
It's still relevant.
One of the big signings for you guys last season, of course, was DJ Hawkinson, the great trade that really just sort of kind of brought the team together, kind of a bit of completion there. You're just hoping that Kirk gets the killer instinct for this forthcoming season. I think that was the main takeaway for me anyway, watching quarterback, was the difference between Mahomes, who's just a bad bastard when it comes to the on the pitch, and Kirk Cousins, who has that in him. We've seen it with you like that. He's got that bit about him. If he can capture that this forthcoming season, Vikings are going to be dangerous.
I don't think he's got any excuses when it comes to weapons around him now. Say Hawkinson's, he's slotted in so well. He looks like an absolute steal. And you can argue we've got the best wide receiver in potentially not just the NFC, but potentially in the NFL. JJ's just unreal.
Stu.
He's absolutely unreal.
I'm the Hod Stu back.
Shots fired. I said potentially, arguably. Come on.
I've said JJ was the best before. So.
The biggest kind of shift, though, I would say, is just in coaching staff. The sheer number of changes in coaching staff is quite dramatic. I think 7 coaching staff have left in 2023 since the turn of the year. That's a huge kind of turnaround. Obviously, the biggest news earlier in the year was Brian Flores coming in as defensive coordinator. That's particularly exciting as well. I cannot wait to see what he does with our defense, because our season last year was so varied. Let's not kid ourselves. When we lost badly. Dallas Cowboys, anyone springs to mind.
You came back. You also came back well.
We did come back well, but again, we shouldn't be doing that in the first place. Come on. So I think defensively having somebody like Brian Flores coming in is hopefully going to kind of steady the ship. I think losing Ed Donatel was of no great surprise last season, just given the sheer amount of points that we were conceding in silly games that we tried to throw away and then somehow came back and won. I'm quite excited, but it's a tough schedule that we've got.
I was just coming on to that. What game?
Yeah.
I'm just coming on to that. What games are you looking forward to most?
Looking forward to, I think our divisional matchups are going to be really interesting. The NFC North in general, I think, is going to be a lot tighter. There's a really tasty game against the Chiefs this season as well, so I need to be winding up studs about that one. I mean, that could be huge because as a wee bit kind of into the season that we're playing. I'm just looking at the schedule for us now when we play. Let's see.
Chiefs, you've got week 5.
Yeah. So opening against the Bucks, and then tough game against the Eagles, but that Chiefs game and that 49ers game kind of midway through. I mean, there's some tough matchups as well. Depending on how Detroit do, we've got two late matchups against the Lions. Once we're hopefully a little bit rested from our bye, so some tough ones though. It's not going to be easy, but I'm still quietly confident that we're going to retain the NFC North, and I can get my Burger King hat on at the end of the season as well.
What was the record? How many games unbeaten was it last year? Was it 8? Higher than 8?
Yeah, we went a decent run last year. After we had that little kind of wobble early on, and some of those kind of heavy defeats, we managed to turn the corner after Cowboys game in particular. So, if we can get a good kind of decent winning streak, that would be fantastic. But I think it's going to be a very different season this year. But quietly confident.
Fantastic. Who do you think is going to absolutely crush it for the Vikes this forthcoming season then?
Again, I'm not going to go with the obvious choice. I'm not going to pick an offensive player. I think defensively is hopefully where we're going to see a difference. And our round 3 pick, Mekhi Blackman, I think could be somebody that could be moulded into a really good asset defensively. So we'll see what happens there. I'm not going to pick the obvious ones. Come on, we've got so many good players, Keith.
This is great. We're getting all cerebral. We're getting all thinking, I'm going to take a defensive player.
Just go 4 for 4 picking defensive players as the difference makers, by the way. Unheard of.
Ridiculous. This is why everybody tunes into the NFL to watch the defensive players make tackles. Now, gentlemen, it's time for your predictions for the forthcoming season. I'll go back to you to see the team that you were looking at for us tonight. What do you think their record is going to be for the season? And then we'll come together and we'll see if we can get a 1, 2, 3, 4 for what we think the season's going to shake out in the NFC North. Brian, we'll come to you then for the Bears. How do you think their record will be? 31st out of 32 teams defensively last year. They've got to really improve that.
Well, do you know what? It is an improvement. It's an improvement on the record for last year. 9-8. And I do see the Bears going positive. Their schedule, well, they've got that hideous bye. Their schedule is okay. There's a couple of kind of games in there I see them try to take. But 9-8.
Fantastic. Stu, what about the Lions?
I see them picking up a few more wins. So I've got them going 11-6.
11-6. Really, with the swashbuckling nature of the Lions, you can kind of see them really just stealing a couple of wins there on the road, especially. 11-6 for the Lions. Then, Liam, what about your Packers?
I had two minds, to be positive or negative. So I've gone for the positive. I'm going to say we're going to go 9-8. I'm going to regret that after week 1 with the Bears. We'll go 9-8.
Fantastic.
9-8 positive.
When you said you were going
negative take.
My negative take? Oh, I was going 6-10.
Remember, there's an extra game.
Also there is. Oh well.
6-10-1.
Yeah.
6-10-1. Yeah, throw on the tie.
When you said you were going positive, I was thinking you were going for the positive, going for the number 1 pick overall last year, because it's going to be a QB heavy season next year. Craig, Vikings.
Oh, tough one. I don't think we're going to match last season's 13-4. Late bye, tough matchups. My heart says 12-5, but
I'm with you.
I'm struggling, but I'm going for it. 12-5.
You keep the faith.
Right there with you, Smudger.
Do you think they win the NFC with that? Smudger, or do you think
I think so, but I think it will be closer.
Oh no, I meant like the whole NFC Championship, not the division.
Oh, I thought you meant the NFC North. Did they win the whole NFC with 12-5? Ooh.
No.
No, I'm not.
No.
Well, if they do, it would be the first time they've done it since 1976. That was when
there you go. Wee statistic getting thrown in there.
Stealth statistic.
I'll be interested to see. Gentlemen, right, let's go for positions then in the division. Are we going for the Vikings in first place?
Skull.
Yeah, I'll say yes. I'm in two minds. I'm
putting the Lions up there, I think.
I'm having the Lions up there. Yeah, I'm going to go Lions.
Nah.
Ooh, so I cast the deciding vote then here for this one, right? So we'll go for. I'm going to go Vikings for this one.
Vikings. Come on, hot knocks. Leaving the Lions.
Which means the Lions, of course, have to get second place. Who are we going for third then?
I had the Packers.
Sorry, Chicago.
Shut down or
Packers.
I'm going to say it's a Fields of Dreams in Chicago. Chicago gets in their third place, 7-10.
Yeah, I'm going Bears as well.
Bears?
Sorry, Liam.
Liam, you representing here?
Well, as I said, I had the Packers second, so I've got to put them third, have
I? It's a compromise. I like that. Brian, who are you going for?
I went Packers, but I had them and the Bears both finishing 9-8, so coin flip again.
Get them stamping those shoots of love. Get them stamped back in the ground. There'll be none of that.
Deciding vote again. I'm hoping to go play golfing with him soon, so I'm going to take the Bears for this one. So Grant Disney.
Cheers! Thanks for that.
That's excellent reasoning, because I mean, to be honest,
Liam, I'm looking forward to playing golf with you, but Grant's got a wild side, which means the Packers are going to struggle to adapt to life without Aaron Rodgers by the looks of it. Or is it Tonyan they're going to miss more? We'll see this forthcoming season. There we go. The crew has decided that in the NFC North, the Vikings will win, closely followed by the Detroit Lions. Bears in third place with a much improved season, and the Packers have completely fallen from grace.
Let's turn quickly. This did.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me with our second preview of the season. I've really enjoyed that. Some great insight there from you. Hope you at home listening have enjoyed too. If you have, you can make sure that you follow, like, and subscribe to Gridiron Crew. If you have any questions for the crew, get involved. You can send them in on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, anywhere you want. You can give us a wee message. We'd love to hear from you and look forward to doing more of these in the forthcoming weeks. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll speak to you soon.